Today I am going to talk about how large or major equipment projects are actually procured for the MOD, or the process that basically goes through. So, effectively, the first step is firms have to be registered as basically registered suppliers. So the MOD, what they have is they have it on their site. It's the Ministry of Defence procurement process, effectively. So they have an e-sourcing platform called Defence Sourcing Portal as of 2021. And the idea is that any opportunities over £10,000 will be advertised on the Defence Sourcing Portal. And accessing it is free of charge, and if you're a supplier, effectively, you can register and look at what you may be able to procure. And there is a requirement, of course, that before the launch of the Defence Sourcing Portal, there was the Defence Contracts Online portal, which still remains, but it's also free of charge. It's sort of the legacy service of the MOD for sourcing certain defence, contracts. So they use the government's, it's sort of a subsection within the government's contracts portal finder, and that's where the central government, so the British government, finds, and other public bodies as well, find contracts for stuff other than defence with a valuation of £10,000 and above. And this is also free of charge, and it's sort of a subsection within the contracts finder portal. So I think that's just good information to know. The MOD buys goods and services through the Crown Commercial Service website, and that's basically the biggest procurement organisation in the UK that's public. And it basically provides a wide range of common goods and services across the public sector for the UK. So in regard to how specifically the MOD procures, and by the way, I will leave a link to the certain portals that the MOD provide, the resources that they provide for this sort of stuff, and then you could perhaps take a look at that, because it's actually a lot simpler than one might think. So the way a typical competition works, we've got to go back to the entire process of major equipment projects. So the MOD, again, the MOD is an excellent resource because they're incredibly transparent. The MOD has a 6-stage process for basically creating contracts and bringing things into and out of service. Their entire service life from conception to disposal will effectively be listed here. So their 6 stages are, it begins at concept, then it moves on to assessment, demonstration, manufacture, in-service, and then it's disposed of. If we are, apologies, I haven't eaten all day, if we're to look at where the particular contracts actually come in, they come in basically at the conception mark. So there is project initiation approval, which is effectively, there is a project or a contract advertised on a sourcing website, and a certain firm basically gets initial approval, and then once assessment has passed, and this is mainly more for major equipment projects, if they pass this initial gate of project initiation approval, they move on to assessment, at which point there is the main gate. That's the really, really, really rigorous intricacies of certain projects. And that's the sort of main gate to actually bringing something into service. After that, you can create a demonstrator and then manufacture it and bring it into service. And then eventually it will be removed from service. So, in regard to how the actual process works, because we know that there are these 6 stages and basically 2 barriers, 2 gates, the initial and the main gate, within the defence industry, how does the MOD actually do a typical competition. So first off, there will be their requirement advertised. So they'll put it on the defence sourcing portal or any of the others I mentioned earlier, and there'll be a pre-qualification questionnaire. That is to say, there'll be questions asked about, the specifics of one's concept, about the ability to solve the certain need that they have. And then if one basically passes this, there may be, if it's assessed to be an ample competitor, there may be an invitation to tender. And once this invitation to tender has passed, there is then independent assessment of the concept or product or contract, and then the supplier is selected and the contract is awarded. And this is a process that is constant. So it's again another 6-stage process that effectively takes place between concept and the beginning of concept and the end of assessment. That is their requirement advertised on sourcing portals, pre-qualification questionnaires, invitation to tender, potentially, independent assessment, supplier selection, and then the final contract award, at which point the next stages can continue. That is demonstration, manufacture, being in service, and disposal. Now, in regard to the actual, I'm going to discuss this at a later date because I think it is rather important to take a look at. But the government itself, and the MOD specifically, had a target. They committed to 25% SME of, I think, total, effectively total, I think it's total price level for what they had. So 25% of their expenditure in 2020 was committed to being, I guess you'd say, given to 25% of their expenditure was made up of purchases, that's a better way to put it, from SMEs, which are small to medium-sized enterprises. So this sourcing portal, which is, again, the pre-qualification questionnaire, is non-personal. It is really quite a democratic platform, and obviously these competitions have oversight, they have rules, they have certain parameters that have to be met for the more human-involved stages. And in fact, the questionnaires themselves and the non-human involved stages to sort what will be good enough and what will not be good enough. So there is ample opportunity, and within the defence portal itself, the MOD provides excellent resources on actually how all of this is set out. So I would not say that it is as simple as these enormous firms just come in and snowplow everyone. Obviously, larger firms can offer perhaps larger product ranges, solution potency, I guess, ability to coordinate certain resources, ability to coordinate certain components, but inherently it is a fair competition. So I'll just say that, and that's effectively the process. Basically, 2 things to remember: concept, assessment, demonstration, manufacture, in-service, disposal. And then there are 2 gates within that effectively include the requirement of being advertised on the MOD supply sites, pre-qualification questionnaires, invitations to tender, independent assessment of concept, and then supplier selection, and finally contract award. And it's as simple as that. There's no need to think it's some sort of super complicated process that goes on in back rooms and shady alleys. No, the MOD sets it out rather clearly, and I'll put the link in the description.